Hello, and this video is going to be on this concept I call doing, thinking, being. Whenever we're trying to make some sort of change to ourselves, specifically in this case our career, but anything in our life really that we want to improve upon, we're going to have to go through a series of steps before we finally get to that end result that we say that we want. So let me describe what I'm talking about in this doing, thinking, being. We talk about the doing part. This is the behavior, how we handle situations, our action, execution, process, style. That's what we're referring to when I talk about doing. Thinking is the rationale, mindset, beliefs, opinions, rules, our experiences. These are all the things that play into how we think about stuff. And then being, well, that is just kind of who you are. It's your core. It's your conditioned self, which means you can uncondition yourself or recondition yourself to another way of being. More on that later. It's just kind of your unconsciousness. It's your feelings. It's your emotional response. It's your priorities and values. That's kind of what we're talking about when we're talking about doing, thinking, and being. To kind of illustrate how this works, I'm going to use this framework right here. Actually, make myself smaller. There we go. The being is where you currently are, okay? The must change is the thing that you decide that you want to improve upon. You put yourself inside, I made this green box. Now you're in this box. In order to get out of this box, you're either going to resort back to being 1.0 and forget and give up and quit, or you're going to continue on and hopefully arrive at being 2.0, which will be your new and improved state, or at least achieving a goal of what you said you want to achieve. So let's go through what each one of these means. So the being 1.0, so that is your current way of being. Something to be aware of is that your protective mechanisms have got you here. There's a reason why you're currently in this state. It's a mix of all the things that have happened in your life that has led you to this place where you kind of have found yourself, usually kind of at some kind of plateau, and you've got very good reason for being there. And to change it would create some sort of worry because it's going to disrupt some of your beliefs and even your identity when it comes to trying to make a change. But now we're going to move on to you deciding you do want to make a change. And so here you are over in this must change area. Now, underline the word must because it's not a nice to have or a convenient to have change. This is a necessity. This is something that needs to happen. If this doesn't become a must, like you absolutely need to do this, if this is anything less than that, then you're going to abandon this and go right back to being 1.0. If when you run into stuff that becomes a little bit more difficult, or you're going to run into something that goes against your current identification, your current way of being. So know that once you enter into this box, it has to be a must change. You cannot go back. That's how strong you have to be about it. It has to be not just a logical thing that you decide, and you actually have to feel this necessity. I'm going to give you an example. We're going to go through all this in a second. The thinking part, now this is going to be your new way of thinking. You see, your current way of believing or your being involves certain mindsets. And if you're going to now change, you're going to have to test the hypothesis of what your current beliefs are. When we move on to the doing part, well, now these are the actions you're going to take to test this hypothesis, to challenge your current beliefs. And this is going to be moving you towards your must change goal. And then over here, this is being 2.0. Now, this is more than just you achieving your goal. This is a new way of you operating. So when you reach this plateau, you're actually going to start the process all over again. Your being 2.0 is now going to go over in that upper left-hand corner. You're going to go through the process and move on to being 3.0. You're just going to keep on improving by going through this system. So let me go through an example. Imagine you have a dental practice and it's just your regular restorative practice, and you decide you want to develop a cosmetic component to your practice. Okay, you decided that is the must change. Let's first talk about why you are where you are currently. And your being 1.0, if you were to say, okay, I want to make this change to cosmetics, you're going to have some things that are going to come up against what you're trying to, or at least what you say you want to do. You probably are going to start talking to yourself about some of these things, some of these worries or concerns that you have. Like you may think, you know what? My current way of practicing is profitable. It's fine. I don't need to add the cosmetic component to it. So you're going to run into that resistance. Or you may think, well, if people want cosmetic changes, they can just ask me. It'd be rude of me to suggest it. That'd be me like calling them that they're ugly. So you may not have wanted to address this in the past because you're afraid of these potential outcomes, or you don't think you know all the intricacies of cosmetic work, and so you just think you need to not do anything except for maybe go take some CE courses before you actually do anything. Or you may think, well, cosmetic patients, they're kind of high maintenance, and I don't want to deal with them. And insurance doesn't cover it, and the fee I'd have to charge in order to make this profitable would be so high that I'd be kind of embarrassed to do it, and patients might get mad. Or, I'd have to promote, advertise, or post stuff on social media in order for me to do this thing the right way. And I don't think I'm up for that kind of time and commitment, and maybe even the criticism that may come from posting this or trying to put myself out there as being some sort of expert on cosmetics. See, these are all the things that might be reasons why you're currently stuck where you are and not actually developing the cosmetic stuff. Even though logically you want to move on and do more cosmetics, your being currently might be preventing you from moving forward because of some of these reasons. You may even have more reasons than that. But this is just an idea of things that can hold you back if you want to do cosmetics. Okay, but you decide, but I want to change. I think this is a must change. Well, you could have a variety of reasons why you think you must change. Like you may think, I need more variety in my career. I am bored to tears of where I'm at and I need to change. And so therefore, you want more variety. You want to do dentistry that can actually change someone's life. I mean, you put a filling in someone's tooth to put a crown on it, that doesn't really change their life, but you give them a new smile. Now that's something that's worthwhile. And if you can make more profit than what you're currently making, well, that's always a plus. You want to feel like you matter, like you're a dentist. You went through all this years of training and schooling, and you want to know that you're more than just a regular old dentist. You want to be something more than that. You want to kind of self-actualize. You've looked at other branches of dentistry, but they just don't seem to excite you as much as cosmetics do. And you also might want to be part of that elite group of dentists that you see at meetings. You want to maybe be that person. So you could have various reasons why you might want to change and turn this into a must change. And so this stuff you can see when you compare this to the previous slide where I had all the reasons why you might want to stay where you are compared to all the reasons why maybe you want to move forward. You can see where there's an internal conflict. And so in order to break out of that, that's when you're going to get into the whole doing and thinking. Which one do you do first? Do you change your thinking and then start doing stuff, or do you start doing things and that will change your thinking? There's different schools of thought on that, but let's just jump right in. Let's just say the doing part. What could you start doing to kind of start advancing this cosmetic thing that may affect your thinking? Well, what you could do is start taking cosmetic photos for patients' charts. This might start conversations. You could do a 3D scan on patients to show misalignment, asymmetry, defects, things like that. You can just start with some simple little bonding cases. It's just filling material. It's nothing terribly complex. It's a very easy process to do. You could send a few cases off for wax-ups just to visualize what the outcomes could look like. You could get a smile simulation app for a tablet and start doing smile designs. You could send videos to patients with photos and scans that you took. You could also put up in the office advertising of cosmetic procedures so patients that are in your office can see it. Or you could even go visit an office that does many cosmetic cases to kind of get an idea of how they're doing stuff. So all that might lead to different ways of thinking. For example, if you send a video and receive positive feedback from the patient, that will encourage you. I go ahead and underline some of these terms to kind of show your thinking and maybe even your feeling about this new cosmetic component you want to start. You start reviewing before and after photos of bonding cases and you see improvement, which further reinforces your belief in self. Or you tactfully ask a patient if they would like to correct a minor cosmetic issue and they respond with, "Thanks for bringing that up. No other dentist has offered to fix it," which now you feel more emboldened to talk to patients. Or one of your staff gives you a high five after a case and you feel now finally a sense of teamwork amongst your staff. All these different kinds of episodes will then change maybe your thinking about dentistry or about cosmetic in particular. And you start looking at some of these things are going on over in your original way of thinking. Well, if you start having these kinds of experiences, you're doing these things, you're now gaining a different appreciation and thinking model for it, then it's inevitable. You will eventually wind up at being 2.0, where now your way of being, your way of now thinking about this, contrast this with your being 1.0, Your now 2.0 is you might start thinking along these lines. Patients need me to guide them to a dental appearance. Since I care about my patients, it's perfectly fine to talk about them, about their cosmetic options. My versatility in treatments allows me to develop cases correctly. Plus, I can change on the fly if needed in the middle of treatment. And I need to share my expertise with the world to drive patients to my office. And my career has a variety, and I'm totally engaged with what I do. See, now this way of being is so much better than it was before. But you have to realize that being 1.0, you have a lot of resistance to that, but you have to make it a must change. And when you do that must change, you start doing the doing and the thinking, and eventually you'll arrive here. One final point about that is as you're going through and making some of these changes, some of your changes are going to be very sudden, just kind of like a lock. I mean, everything's just going to fall into place, and finally it's going to click for you. Other things are going to be more gradual. It's going to be more steady, kind of like something growing here like a plant. You're just going to slowly see its growth over time. So as you're going through this, just be self-aware of all the things going on, but you have to keep it a must change and keep driving forward with your thinking and your doing. All right, thanks.